365 Sports, David Smoke, and Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, inside our studio during this holiday time. It's been a while since I've seen you. How you been?
I've been good. How about you? This is, by the way, quite the studio. First
Yeah,
time here. Thanks for the invitation.
Well,
It's been about 3 years.
Relationships take time.
They do. I've heard that. I've heard that.
So the Foster Pavilion opens next week. There's been a lot of hype, a lot of promotion. There's going to be more media about it. The game actually with Cornell. I mean, what's the anticipation for that first game, even though there's still a lot of work to be done?
Well, this has been a project that's been a long time coming. It's been the dreams of many. And in fact, I remember when I first landed here on campus in August of 2016, I was immediately told about, doing something for basketball, whether it was renovating the Farrell Center, reducing the size, or maybe thinking about something new. The person that probably had that conversation with me was probably Scott Drew.
Yep.
And that's what you love about Scott, right? Always wanting to move forward and make the program better. So, it's been something on our mind for quite a long time, and there have been so many people that have come together, right, to help make this happen. It seems like yesterday when we broke ground in May of 2022. So 20 months later, we're getting ready to open this up. Obviously, couldn't do the project without Paul and Alejandra Foster. $100 million gift, 75 to the pavilion. That's really what made it a reality. And we've had a great team that has worked hard to get us to January 2nd, men's basketball versus Cornell, and then the next day, women's basketball versus TCU.
So of everything you've seen, and I know that there's still a lot of work between even now and when you play next week, but what do you think will be the favorite, the amenity, the best part of it, the atmosphere, the view? What will that be possibly for the fan or whoever is at the game?
I think there's going to be a lot of favorites. I think, one, it starts with location, right? Being able to place it on the river, and take advantage of that, just like we did with McLean Stadium and like we're doing with the Fudge Development Center. So I think that piece is one. I think what we're doing with the students, very similar again to what we're doing with McLean Stadium, kind of replicating Baylor line and having them sit along the sidelines. I think that's going to bring great energy. The seating bowl, we spent a lot of time, and I think it was one of the blessings about COVID. It gave us some additional time to be really thoughtful about design. We were on pause. I don't know if you remember, but we were on pause for, 12 to 18 months because nobody really knew or understood, the financial ramifications of COVID. And so gave us a lot of time, and we really challenged our architectural team to really look at the seating bowl. And I think we've developed a seating bowl that is close, on top of the action, is going to provide great energy for our student athletes, for our programs. I think it's going to be a great experience. And then I think, there's so many. The volume when you walk in, the field house design. We were really intentional about the field house design, clean ceilings, the 2-end video board. So hey, I can go on and on. I think there's going to be a lot of fan favorites, including premium locations, club areas too that we haven't had in or didn't have in the Farrell Center. So a lot of cool stuff.
Do you you obviously wanted to kind of, from this semester going forward, make the clean break from the Farrell Center to the pavilion, the Foster Pavilion. It's not quite ready. Was there at any time during the last semester where you said we may need to push it back, or was that no matter what, we're playing a game in there on January 2nd?
Yeah, that was yesterday. No, we have spent obviously a lot of time vetting back and forth, and we certainly didn't want to compromise a great in-seat experience for our fans. And we believe that on January 2nd, we're going to be able to deliver that. There'll be a few things that aren't 100% complete. You know, you'll see some cosmetic things, some signage that still needs to be completed. You'll see some, you know, landscaping on the exterior that will need to be completed. But the in-seat experience, the game venue, concessions, restrooms, all of that will be 100% complete, and I think it's going to end up being a great experience. And you know, when we thought about it too, you know, there were two primary drivers. There was one, you know, thinking about both men's and women's basketball competing for a Big 12 championship, and then certainly, you know, trying to compete for a national championship, giving them the best opportunity to win games. We think this venue does that in terms of home court advantage. And then I think just giving our student athletes, you know, we've got seniors that if we delayed it, wouldn't otherwise get to play in it. So thinking about them and providing that experience for them as well.
You know, there's certain schools, your enrollment is not Wisconsin or A&M or Texas or ones that have 50,000 students. You have the enrollment you have as a private university. A lot of schools are downsizing. There are still the big mega arenas, et cetera. How difficult was it to come up with the number? One that you know that you're going to have high demand for tickets, and yet also make sure everybody who wants to be there consistently can have a seat.
Yeah, great question. So we didn't pull that number out of thin air. You know, when we started this process, we actually did a study and consulted, you know, quite a few outside third-party folks in terms of just capacity, size, given our ticket base. We looked at, you know, what we had averaged, you know, in terms of fan base over the last 10 years, women's basketball, last 10 years, men's basketball. So we really went deep in terms of just being comprehensive. And I think it's, you know, a lot like or similar to going from Floyd Casey to McLean, where we went from 50 to 45. And so I think we landed in the sweet spot where, you know, we're going to be able to create a place where it is the place to be. Like, people are going to want to be there. They're not going to want to miss out, right? This idea of supply and demand. And yet I think it's large enough that we're going to be able to accommodate, you know, most, if not all of our fans. And again, the goal is for us to consistently sell this out, for it to be full, 7,000, 7,500 every single night.
So you have McLean Stadium. It opened before you got here in 16, as you mentioned, August of 16. That was amazing. You got the football ops going on. You're going to renovate some other things. You got to renovate the Farrell Center. You have the pavilion, the Foster Pavilion, and there's always something to do. How do you keep up with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I enjoy most. I love, you know, having, you know, 10, 15 balls in the air at one time, and I think that's the challenge of college athletics. I think you always have to be moving forward. I think you always have to be thinking about, you know, what's next, what's in the future. And, you know, I think right now we're thinking about, hey, all right, what's the next project for us? You know, once we've completed the Foster Pavilion, once we've opened the Fudge Development Center. And so, look, I've got a great team, and I think it starts there. I've got people that I get to right work alongside on a daily basis, and they do such a great job of executing and carrying out all of those different ideas, plans, initiatives, etc. Dave
Aranda. Tough year, obviously, things swirling, people unhappy, you're unhappy, he's unhappy, people were in front. And football's like, you know, they talk about football's like the front door of a university, or how successful the athletic department is. I know that there was just constant consternation, but you believe in him. And it's obvious because he's coming back for another year. Was part of bringing him back another year that you believe that no matter what he does in the future, he's going to be successful, and you wanted to make sure it wasn't with somebody else and it was with you?
Yeah, I think, you know, first and foremost, you're right. Nobody was happy with the season. It was a difficult year. don't want to go through that again. I can tell you Coach Aranda doesn't want to go through that again, our student athletes, our staff. Nobody does. And so I think, what was most important was, all right, how do we get this thing corrected? How do we think and look forward, right? Put a plan together and begin to execute it. And I think since the end of the season, Coach Aranda has done a great job of executing it. I absolutely believe in him, and I don't think it was any mistake that he was our head coach when we had the best, greatest football season in program history, and so. Myself, along with Jovan, along with the institution, along with Brent Ingram, along with all of the staff, right? We're going to do our very, very best to support him and make sure that he is successful. He is a heck of a human being, and he's a heck of a football coach.
When you went to bed after the loss to West Virginia, did you know what decision you were going to make the next morning?
I did. I think that's I appreciate that question. I did, but I needed to make sure, and I don't know if this makes any sense, but I needed to make sure that Sunday morning I woke up and felt the same way. And I did. I woke up and certainly felt the same way. And I think if it hasn't been talked about, we. Coach Aranda, Jovan, and I met Saturday during the afternoon prior to the kickoff. He had a window of time, window of space. And then we met that Sunday morning.
So how hard, or is it difficult as an AD with a fan base that's become spoiled in many ways, entitled, because of the success that's been around the last 10 years or so, to not make a decision based on fan backlash, donors, others? I know that you try to separate yourself from all of that, but is that difficult?
It is difficult, and it's difficult because you never want your fan base to interpret that as you don't care about them. We've got a great fan base. I'm grateful for them. They're passionate. They care. Sometimes loud. Certainly opinionated. But man, they've been through a lot. They've been with us through thick and thin. I've only been here 7 years, but you look at the history of Baylor athletics. And just think about this, the history of Baylor athletics as compared to most places in the country. When you think about the Dave Bliss era, all that happened. You think about the most recent scandal, the NCAA infractions, the major infraction investigation, all of that stuff, right? The years of not winning in football, and then all of a sudden winning, right? And so this fan base has been through quite a bit, and so I try to certainly understand that and get that, and yet at the same time, I've got to make decisions based on facts and what I know and what I see within the program that maybe our fan base doesn't have that lens, doesn't have that viewpoint.
I've had fans tell me, Baylor fans, lifelong or not, even like the last 10 or 12 years, that they wake up in the morning waiting for the next meteor to hit them in the head. They can't seem to enjoy success for long term. Now, Scott obviously has had a great run. Women's basketball had a great run, and Nikki's getting them back to a certain level, playing huge game on Saturday in Austin. Does that a good description, you think, for them?
that I've had some tell me that, right? And again, all of a sudden, right, we had expectations. Go postseason in football, and we go 3-9, and so whoa, what happened, right? Are we going back to where we've been for, in the past, those many years without success? And, what I will tell you again, I believe in Dave Aranda, and we have a program, an athletics program, when we think about infrastructure for success for football, right? When we talk about coaching staffs and what we do salary-wise, what we're now doing with name, image, and likeness, the Fudge Football Development Center, all of those things. And so I think we're in great position to be really successful in football in the future.
So that even means more demand to be successful. If you're going to build all that stuff and it's going to be available, then you have to expect what you already expected, but now even multiply it.
Comes with the territory. Absolutely.
Can Baylor win in this day and age of NIL? Because you guys are now, like, again, I've had conversations with Jeremy Fudge and John and GXG and all that. There's no doubt, based on watching what players are saying who are coming back or those who are coming in, that Baylor is now in it. And people can debate whether it was on time, early enough, or whatever, but it is now, we're going to do this because we have too much on the line not to.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Can we win? Absolutely. And I think it's also about how you interpret winning. Are we going to outspend people in the name, image, and likeness game? We're not. That's just not who we are when you think about a private, Christian school. Can we do more than enough to be in the game? Do we have to be really, really smart how we do it? We've got a great partner in GXG Exchange, John Passavant. They've been terrific. And I feel really good right now, where we are in terms of name, image, and likeness for both football, men's basketball, women's basketball. We're growing, in some other sports in terms of baseball, softball. I think we're going to have to get into it in volleyball.
Yep.
So, and, at some point in time, are we going to have to pick and choose? I don't know. We're not at that point right now. But absolutely, I think we can win, and we can be really, really good in the name, image, and likeness space, and give our coaches the opportunity to compete for championships, and then certainly to put quality product on the courts and fields for our fans.
Would you say, if anything, people can debate again whether you started on time or were aggressive enough? Do you feel like you could even be more outwardly, or GXG? Which they're doing. They're a sponsor of what we do now. They could even be more, hey, this is who we are, because I saw Gene Smith at Ohio State the other day mention a collective and bragged about it and mentioned what they were doing. It's kind of an ability of crossing the line. Do you feel like you'll do that more?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the name, image, and likeness space continues to evolve. And so you just think about here in January at the NCAA meetings, they're going, more than likely propose new legislation, how name, image, and likeness works. We're working, not a secret, everybody's working on federal legislation. And so I think as name, image, and likeness continues to change and evolve, we're going to have to do that as well. But make no mistake, we're going to be in name, image, and likeness. We're going to be aggressive. It's going to be prominent. And again, GXG has been a great partner.
Did I see where you have a job now called Director of NIL Administration? Did you ever think in your life, as an AD in athletics, the NCAA, amateurism, et cetera, which is not even a word anymore, that you would have a Director of NIL Administration?
Not probably a year ago or 2 years ago, but that's, again, speaks to how it's evolving. And I think, we really need somebody in our athletic department to take ownership 100% full-time and really work with our collective GXG. And I think there's a next level for GXG Exchange. I think there's a next level for how we do name, image, and likeness and really, really professionalize it. And those are the things that we're working on right now currently.
I once asked you, after you made the decision about Dave Aranda, about what happens if it doesn't work out. And you remember what you said to me?
You're going to have to remind me.
You said, well, it won't be the first time an AD has hired a football coach that wasn't fired. That wasn't suggesting that you would do that with Dave because you're expecting him to be successful. But is that to the point now where this business is so, what have you done for me lately, that the patience level is zero in some cases, from the fan base to even board of regents or presidents or ADs?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're correct in saying that, patience level, there is no patience really anymore, and so that makes it hard. Obviously, these positions are all public facing. Hiring head coaches, if you look historically, even, the signature blue blood, big brands, right? They're not exact sciences. I've been blessed. We've been fortunate to hire, 3 head coaches that have been in New Year's Six bowl games. There hasn't been a head football coach that I hired that hasn't played in multiple bowl games. And so we've been able to do, I think, a really, really good job of hiring quality individuals, really, really good football coaches. And by the way, at Baylor, it's been under some difficult circumstances. When you think in December of 16 and, how that season ended and the scandal, being able to hire a Mack Rhoades, and then you think fast forward and, we're hiring Dave Aranda with this major infractions cloud over us and having to deal with all of that. So we've been blessed, and I've been grateful to the people that have been on that journey with me in terms of those hires, both here at Baylor and previous institutions.
You, as an AD, if football's not doing well, is the complaint level about everything else around game day operations or atmosphere or video boards or whatever, does that increase? How legitimate can that be?
I think that's the power of football. I really do. I think we talked about it, as a staff. When you're not, winning a football, the whole institution is cranky and in a bad mood. And so, that's college athletics, and that's why it's important for us to win in football.
There was a time, I believe, that the Big 12 and Louisville were talking. That's an ACC team. I'm not specifically saying that that's an option, but that's the blue blood in basketball. Football team's really good.
I think, the ACC for the last 2 or 3 years, there's been a lot of conversation about their TV contract and, not up until 2036. And so the whole revenue share and all of that. And so I think those member institutions have thought about and certainly looked at, hey, is there other opportunity? Can we fix first what we have within our conference, and then number 2, is there any other opportunity? And by the way, I do think about Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, really, really difficult job, and I think he's done tremendously well stepping into a difficult situation and trying to keep everybody together.
Couple more questions. Thank you, Mack, for your time today. How big is too big when it comes to conferences? You hear about the Super 2, obviously, the 2 big 800-pound gorillas. Maybe one's 810 pounds, the other one's 800 pounds. But how big is a conference before it doesn't become a conference and it's a league?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And, I start to think about that, and I'm going, all right, when you have conferences that are that large, is it less about winning conference championship now? Because, the odds to win a conference championship when you have 20, when you have 24, right? Is it now all about, hey, we got to be positioned or really think about positioning ourselves for the 12-team football playoff, or for, what seed do we have in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, the women's basketball tournament? And so I think it will certainly change the dynamic of rivalries. I think it will change certainly the dynamic of conference championships, and probably where we're headed, and it's probably something that we're going to need to embrace.
So you took over during a pretty dark time, as you mentioned, in August of 16, and that football season started off well, and then it went bad, and then you won the bowl game. Groby walking across the field at the end of the game in Phoenix was just incredible. Love that man. And the coaching staff, they all found a way. They got it together. They won to get to 7-6, and then you had to get through that. So you've done that. You hired Mack Rhoades. You mentioned some of the investigations and all that. 1-11, 2-7, now 3-9. You have found a way to keep this thing going. Do you thrive during chaos? And because of that, and even though some people may think, well, you could even do better, I know there are blue bloods that want Mack Rhoades to help run their programs because of what you've done here. How do you separate all that?
Well, I think, first, I enjoy chaos. I do think that some people are built for it, and I think, God built me for it. And, chaos comes in many shapes and sizes. You mentioned scandal, head football coaching searches, NCAA investigations, right? I think right now this time in college athletics where we're thinking about name, image, and likeness and revenue share and more scholarships and all of those things. And so it's something that I enjoy. I love the strategy behind it. I love, the opportunity to attack a problem. I love the opportunity to attack, 8, 9, 10 different problems at the same time, and how do they overlap, and how's their synergy, and how it's connected. And then I would just say, anytime my name or anybody has inquired about, any interest that I may have in a blue blood or different program, that's a compliment to Baylor athletics. That's a compliment to the staff that I work with, to the great coaches we have, the great student athletes we have. It's about them. It's never been about me. And I thought about this probably several months ago. I grew up in this business, and I never worked for what I would say was a blue blood athletic director. I've never worked for somebody that could pick up the phone and say, hey, you need to interview this guy, or hey, you need to hire this guy. And so I fought, scratched, and clawed. And I think that's Baylor athletics. I think that's why, I've been a good fit here, because that's what we'll continue to need to do to be relevant, to fight, scratch, and claw. And again, I love that about Baylor, and I love where we're headed. And I think that as we think about our future in college athletics, we're going to be right at the front of the line.
All right, this is about the AFCA convention. I know you got to go. If professional football doesn't allow players to become free agents until after the Super Bowl, until after the season is over, unless they've been cut or waived, why does college allow that?
Yeah, I mean, so one.
That schedule cannot be sustainable the way it is right now.
I agree. I agree, and I think talk about chaos. Okay, it is chaos, and what we're asking our head coaches to navigate. Particularly in the month of December. So I'm gonna answer this indirectly. I truly believe it is time for a 360 review of college football. I mean, I think we need to all step back, and I don't think we can do it ourselves internally, because, we're all self-serving. It's all going to be, hey, let's do what's best for the Big 12. Let's do what's best for the SEC. Let's do what's best for the Big 10. Let's do what's best for the ACC. But we need to bring in a third party and really take a look at everything we're doing with college football. And I think it needs to begin and end with the recruiting calendar and how we do all of that. And right now, we're in this time and space of lawsuits, antitrust, so we're afraid to do anything right now, right? If we do this, then we're worried about this lawsuit. If we do that, et cetera. But we really need to pull back and do this holistic review for college football. It is one of the greatest games, right? We all enjoy, love it, breathe it. It is one of the greatest gifts, I think, that this country has, right? And we're going to end up, right, not taking care of it like we need to.
Yeah, when you have a bowl game with 25 starters out for one team or whatever reasons. Thanks, man. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.
See you on
Thank
Tuesday.
You. See you on
Mack
Tuesday.
Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, with us today on 365 Sports. Continue to have the great holidays.